I always love to start these episodes with, I'd love to have your 90-second pitch. Who are you? What's your company? And what do you guys do?
Yeah. So I'm the co-founder of Enterprise Energy. Enterprise Energy is a community solar developer and now pivoting into battery developer as well. The three of us co-founders have been doing community solar development for combined like around 30 years of experience. And for people who don't know, community solar is essentially solar farms out in rural parts of the state of, for us, it's Minnesota and Illinois. Each one of these farms are about 30 soccer fields in size. And it's similar to utility scale in which we sell the energy to the grid and then find subscribers for said energy on the back end. So we might have like 1,000 subscribers who are residential customers or commercial customers who want energy, and we provide them bill savings on day one. So we've been doing this for a long time now. We're pretty good at it. And now with the change in the regulatory landscape, the federal policy with the OBBB, the One Big Beautiful Bill, a lot of
Hmm.
solar has been impacted, and we're now pivoting into batteries, which in a lot of
Mm,
ways is better for the grid. And we're able
yeah.
to provide resiliency benefits and arbitrage and demand response, helping customers save money and the grid save money, and doing that in a clean and equitable way.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I guess what's your background? What's your story? How did you get into this? How did you meet your co-founder? I guess what's the origin story here?
Yeah, so my training is actually in physics.
Okay.
In undergrad, I was a undergraduate researcher doing research into semiconductors, and I actually built some of my own photovoltaic cells. I actually loved physics. I always loved physics, and I still talk about quantum. I was just talking to my friends about quantum mechanics yesterday, um, and I was really focused on solving climate change. That was like my big like North Star. And I thought if I just develop the best, most efficient solar cell, we'll solve it. But the more I studied the problem, I realized that the problem is not really technology constrained, but it's like finance and politically constrained. And in short, we just need to deploy. We already have the solutions that we need to solve climate change. We just need to build, build, build. And so I pivoted into more of a business centered role, and I got a job in Maryland right out of college at a company called New Energy Equity, which is still going on to great success. That's where I met my co-founders, Eric Posse, our CEO, and Evan Carlson, our CDO. Um, we're all we all worked together at that company, and we were a big part of their success. And after a few years there, and seeing that company go on to see very great success, New Energy Equity went on to get acquired and then acquired again. We decided, let's just do our own thing. We know how to do this ourselves. Let's just do it ourselves.
That's great.
So we spun out and did our own thing, the three of us. And Minnesota has been our backyard. Like both my co-founders are based in Minneapolis, and we know Minnesota, the state of Minnesota, like the back of our hand. Like that's our market. Illinois is our second best market. We also know that one very well, and we've pretty much just been like those two markets. That's what we're good at. We know we're good at it, and we've been able to like really, really, Pareto distribution, just hit 80/20. Like that's all of our
Mhm.
business, and it's doing really well for us.
That's great. Now, are those locations, Minneapolis and the Chicagoland, is there something that's attractive for what you do, or is it just we live here, it's close by, or is there something kind of special about those areas that make what you do work?
Yeah, I think it's like two things there. It's the program that's been built for community solar in Minnesota and Illinois, and two, it's like the permitting side, which are kind of
Right.
that's just the same, like the regulatory and then like the zoning and ordinance. It's actually like two parts of it. So like the state of Minnesota created a very strong and accessible community solar program. The state of Illinois created the same thing in Illinois, and so from that point, we just see business opportunity. Like if we can build projects here, we can make money. So that's the first half. The other half is the zoning and ordinance, which is really like, can we get these things permitted? Like if we go to the city of Lockport, Illinois, can we convince that local it's called an AHJ, an authority having jurisdiction? Can we convince them that we should be able to permit the solar and pay tax revenue to that county or to that city, and not be a public nuisance and jump through all their hoops? And I think a big part of what people don't give enough credit to in that like permitting battle is like, do they feel like you're some big city hotshot coming in and just like using their constituents for money, or do you feel like you're someone who's like kind of part of their community and like trying to bring them along with these benefits? They get tax revenue from this, and sometimes we have to do a lot of convincing and persuading them that they should accept. But I think what is really one of our advantages there is that our chief development officer, Evan, he is a Minnesotan. He's not a big city slinger
Right.
hotshot. He's from Minnesota. He knows that the Midwest. So a lot
Yeah.
of it is like, do they feel like you're almost like condescending to them, or are you
Hmm.
kind of one of them?
Right, right, right. Yeah. Like, how often are you working with like cities or ordinance, like you're talking about, or are you sometimes working with the I don't know, the private farmer that has some farmland that just wants to sell it? And I give you my example is my mom. We actually have some farmland. I'm out here in Michigan. We have a bunch of farmland, and they were approached a long time ago to put up a farm like this, and I don't know the details. This is probably 15 years ago now. So it was kind of just her decision. So are those same sort of zoning and all the rules that we're talking about existing on sort of a private side, or is it a little bit of both? What does it sort of look like?
Yeah, it starts off with the private landowner. It's first approaching whomever owns like a parcel of land or several parcels of land all contiguous and saying,
Hmm.
"Hey, we know you are most of these people are farming the land, or sometimes they just have it sitting there doing nothing, but most of them are monetizing it in some way." So we say, "Hey, we know that you're farming this land and you're getting X amount of money per year. We're going to offer you more money, and what we'll do is also they offer pretty like lucrative terms. We'll say between the next 2 years, we're going to call it a development term, where we say we're going to pay you whether or not we are able to get this project built or not. The next 2 years, we're going to pay you, and then we're going to enter a construction term, assuming things go forward. We're going to pay you during construction, and then when it's actually constructed, you're going to get paid a certain lease rate every year. And you don't have to
Yeah.
do anything, right? So you don't have to farm,
Right.
you don't have to deal with the volatility of whether China's buying our soybeans or not this year. It's like
Yeah.
there's less volatility. It's like we're gonna pay you guaranteed every month for the next 25 to 35 years. And for a lot of these
Mm.
farmers, that's a great proposition. A lot of these farmers are
Right.
older and they don't want to farm the land. They don't want to deal with the volatility. This is assured payment every month. And so if we can get farmers or landowners to agree to this, we sign the lease together, and then we go to the county and we say, okay, we're gonna get this permitted, and we're also gonna submit an interconnection application to the utility, like a
Mm.
ComEd or an Excel
Right.
Energy or a Ameren Energy, and essentially try to get to a yes, get to a permit approved in hand. Oftentimes projects fail. That is a big part of the game, which is and why we're paying the landowner regardless of whether it
Right.
happens. But what we're really good at is a really low fail rate. Our attrition rate is pretty low. We're good at picking the right pieces of land and making sure that we're not spending money on bad pieces of land. At the end of the day, it's not 100%, but like our like collateralized total is pretty high.
That's great. That's great. Like something that would go wrong, it's not so much the land, it must just be all the paperwork, for lack of a better term, right? Like, I mean, the land is just the land and you're putting these solar panels on it, correct? I mean, it doesn't seem like that would shift as much in terms of something that would fail.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Okay.
I would say with development, there's really like three legs of the stool when I think about it. There's like the permitting, which is a big part of it. There's the
Yeah.
interconnection with the utility. And then there's like I would call like the diligence. And the diligence includes environmental things like wetlands and flood zones, and let's say the endangered species nearby or something like that. And also like the real estate. And so a lot of these pieces of land have a certain easement. Will have like a random easement in it that's I don't know, like an underground oil pipeline easement or something like that, or like a right of way that actually tends to extend into the lands. Those are some of the diligence things we need to like to diligence really. So there's
Yeah.
like
Right.
the diligence side, and then there's the permitting, which most people would imagine they understand. It's like, and that's actually very challenging, but we're really good at. And then the other one is the interconnection. So that's submitting an interconnection application and going through usually around 6 to 9 months of studies. We pay money for the studies, and that's actually a lot of why we are working with Climatize. A lot of the development of a project you can expect for any given project over the course of 9 months on the best end to maybe over a year, like on a more
Hmm.
time frame, you're going to be
Yeah.
spending somewhere between 100 and $150,000 to
Okay.
diligence a project, to develop a project.
Right. Yeah.
The way that we do it is really strategic in that we really hold back any spending until we like pass certain like risk thresholds. And so that's what we're how we can be good stewards of money, of our own money or of our
Right.
money is like we're not going to spend money until we know we have a project. And when we have a better certainty, we'll spend a little bit more money and a little bit more money and a little bit of money. And over the course of the entire, 9 months to 1 year plus, we've spent maybe around 100 to 150K. But
Gotcha. Okay.
no, it's been diligence.
And how many of these projects are you sort of actively pursuing at a given time?
It's a good question. I think right now we have maybe around 20 projects.
Okay. Okay. And it sounds like they all might be in various stages of what you just described, where you are in the risk. Some of them are a little bit farther. Some of them are like, yeah, we identified, a farm or whatever it might be, or a plot of land. So it sounds like they're all in probably various different stages.
Yes, exactly. So like right now
Yeah.
we have around, so like, for example, we have 6 projects which are in pre-construction, and we're like working with our EPC partners, our construction and engineering partners, to like build it and go ahead and finance it and build it. Those like the furthest ahead ones. And then we have maybe like 4 or so which are like in study with the utility right now, and we have already been permitted. And then behind that we have like 10 which are essentially sitting in queue on hold. Like we've submitted an application, the utility won't study us until the projects before it are done studying.
Mm,
So we're just sitting there on hold.
right.
And we just wait. We play the waiting game.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I want to talk a little bit, 'cause, we just mentioned Climatize, but I want to talk a little bit about raising capital. I think you've done 3 raises so far with Climatize, but pulling from memory here, that might be off.
No,
I talked to a lot of deals. Okay. So I guess one, how did you come about this? How did you get to this as a platform? What was some of the early conversations to go this route for this type of funding?
yeah, yeah. So so I'm in San Francisco. My co-founders are in Minneapolis right now. I work at this place called 90. I'll start from the beginning. So I
Mhm.
work at this co-working space called 90, which is where I currently am. And 90 is a climate co-working space. Anyone who works on climate, clean energy, agriculture, oceans, carbon sequestration, there's a home for you here. And I've been working here out of here for the last 2 years. There's a lot of great networking here that just happens built in, like just water cooler, right? I met this great guy who told me about Climatize. Oh, you're trying to raise money for development capital. Have you considered Climatize? I'd never heard of them. So he set me up, sent me into a WhatsApp group with Alba, the co-founder. The co-founders are actually 30 Forbes 30 and 30, and for good reason, because it's a great
Mhm.
innovative platform and it's very much needed. Set up an intro call, and pretty much like they were at the time for us, Enterprise Energy, we were a developer flip model. Whereas right now we're developing and then building our own projects. Then in the first 2 years, we're developer flip. So what that means is like we develop it until it's ready for construction, and then we'd sell it to someone else who's actually going to build it and raise the
Gotcha.
financing to build it. The good thing about that is there's not as much upfront capital that we need to supply. The bad thing is we'll get paid in lump sums, but it's very lumpy. Our cash flow looks like nothing, 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 nothing. Big cash flow, nothing, 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 nothing. Big one. And so for us, it's like we gotta just hope and pray that between each of the
Yeah.
big ones, we have enough money to to keep us
Right.
going and keep developing these projects, which are 100 to 150K each, each one. So essentially, what Climatize like offered to us was a way to smooth over those times
Those lumps. Yeah.
lumps. And yeah, so we started with them with our Minnesota portfolio. We had like a portfolio of like I believe 6 projects that we still had I think around 80K each one to spend on the development, and they helped us like just bridge that gap. And then when we
That's right.
when we were able to like close on these projects, sell them, get to monetize, and we can like back pay, just to get out from under that debt.
Sure, sure. I want to pivot over a little bit over to batteries, because we kind of talked about it in the beginning, and then we went a little bit around there. So what is happening right now around batteries? I think some stuff happened in Illinois that they might have passed some rules about 2030. I guess just talk to us about what does batteries mean in this? Where are you guys at on it? Because I think that's why you're raising capital at this point, right? Is to start helping with the battery projects, correct?
Yes, yeah. So right now in Illinois, so zooming out to a federal lens first, the Inflation Reduction Act was really helpful for all of clean energy, including solar, wind, batteries. With the one big beautiful bill, which is Trump's federal bill, the solar ITC is pretty much slashed. It's pretty much over
Mhm.
for the foreseeable future, but the batteries is still preserved. So the industry is seeing, okay, we don't really have opportunity in solar anymore until I don't know, maybe the next administration. We'll see. And then, but batteries is still very much on the table in a way that's not the worst thing. I'm always trying to see the silver lining is that a lot of a lot of markets like California, for example, are like have very high solar penetration, and to the point where actually the grid is struggling to receive additional solar kilowatt hours. What batteries do is allows you to charge it in the middle of the day and then discharge at night. So it actually solves what's known as the duck curve. If you have any energy nerds in the audience,
Hmm.
so in a way, it's incentivizing the industry to like develop batteries. So the state of Illinois positioned this new like policy very well. They passed a bill called the Clean and Reliable Grid Act, CRGA, and that passed late last year / early this year. And essentially it creates a marketplace for batteries to participate in. And we're riding that wave. So we're seeing a lot of federal support and state support for batteries in Illinois. And we're going to be doing just standalone batteries. In many ways, they're easier to get done than a solar project, because solar project like 30 soccer fields of
Right.
size. Battery is just like half an acre. It's just like a
Hmm.
shipping container. If you guys have
Yeah.
seen shipping containers, they're not that big. So you could take up half an acre and just put a little spot on, farmland. The counterpoint to that is that, there's a little bit of maybe safety concerns or pollution concerns, which people rightly have. I think it's some of it
Hmm.
also some fear that's there, that's
Yeah.
FUD being applied. But like people, it's our responsibility to prove that these things are safe and we can do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we feel good about that.
Yeah, so I've worked on 5 or 6 battery projects, I guess, over the last probably 10 years myself here, doing crowdfunding campaigns and whatnot. And one of the things we've always gotten is a lot of feedback on they're being unproven, or they don't they don't hold, or they could explode in your home. I know we had that for a while, all this sort of fear. How do you guys sort of navigate that? How do you respond to it? How do you ease people's minds as to this where we are with battery technology?
Yeah, that's like, I think that a lot of this is really comical in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could talk about electric vehicles for a second, even though we're not doing electric vehicles, people sensationalize when there's a Tesla that's crashes and explodes, but you never hear the news when an internal combustion engine crashes and explodes. And those happen way more often, especially in volume and in proportions. But it's just like anything that's a new technology, people are going to be afraid of it. And I understand that. It's a very human response. These things have been like very, very well tested at this point. There have been a few high profile like incidents that I think scare people. But what we essentially do is like, we just provide the facts. Like there's been tons of studies. Like let's talk about Tesla batteries, for example. There've been tons of thermal runaway studies, and there are well established ways to prove these safety to prove that these are safe. And I think that at the end of the day, what we are doing is just like we're going to put a battery in a certain spot, and then we have like a nice setback away from anything nearby, any trees, piles of leaves, for example, and any buildings. So even if they do catch fire, which is unlikely, but it's possible, they essentially what they do is they just do thermal runaway. They just catch on fire. There's no way to really put them out until they just finish their chemical reaction. And what you can do is just spray around the batteries. You don't even spray the battery itself. You spray everything else around it. And the fire department will always be involved. Like I think that is a big part of battery permitting, is making sure that the fire departments are aware of this and they have easy access to it if they need to get to it. Pretty much those are the steps.
Yeah, yeah. Are you guys technology agnostic, like on the battery chemistry, or is there certain partners that you would want to work with?
We are battery technology agnostic. I think there's a lot of I would say there's a lot of volatility in which market which battery provider is going to be like the best right now for a couple of reasons. So this one is like kind of the safety and reliability. The other one's obviously going to be cost, and then another one, which is again from the One Big Beautiful Bill, is this idea of FIAC. I don't know if your viewers
Hmm.
heard of this. So is part of the ITC, as part of the tax credit like stipulations of the One Big Beautiful Bill, it is that you cannot procure equipment above a certain threshold from a foreign entity of concern. So FIAC, and those foreign entities of concern involve like China, Iran, Russia, and I think one other as well. But it really is just China, because China's the ones who's providing these technologies. And so there is a question as to, let's just say Tesla, because I think everyone knows that company. Tesla procures battery cells from China at the moment.
Hmm.
And I think there's been talk and there's been movement to create their own domestic cells. I'm not sure where that is in status, but if they procure from China, then there's a question of how much is that of the total cost of the Tesla Megapack. Is it going to be over the threshold? And if it is, if we use that, we cannot get the ITC. We cannot get the tax credit. So in that case, then we'll have to maybe choose another provider that's more expensive, but they're able to get under that threshold. Maybe
Mm,
overall the economics are better for us. So a lot of volatility right now. We're talking to multiple providers and seeing like, can you prove to us you're complying with FIAC? If the answer is no, okay, like noted. Let's see how the economics
right.
shift out.
Do you think certain communities or regions will care about some of this stuff? Or is this just all inside baseball to what you guys are doing? Would a city in Illinois be like, oh no, you have to be a part of this? And like, how much would they kind of control the narrative in this as well?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I think most communities would not care really in terms of like what
Yeah.
is installed there because it's just like it's just a device that from their perspective it looks like a container no matter what.
Right. Right.
Sometimes I think there are certain communities that might care, and if they're even more conservative than like maybe our standard communities might be, we might
Hmm.
actually lead with that as like a selling point. We might say like, this is
Right.
a 100% domestic produced, domestic shipped and owned. It's an American company that builds this to just to like maybe assuage their concerns. We're,
Yeah.
we're open to that.
Hmm. Yeah. How much do you see, like, what does scale look like for this type of company? Is it partnerships with, let's say, a big institution like a hospital or a university or something like that? Is it still more, projects on farmland? Like, what does scale, what does kind of the big plans look like for you guys right now?
Yeah. Yeah. It's to pretty much pick millions of little like parcels all over the state, Minnesota and Illinois right now, but maybe expanding to New Jersey, maybe expanding to Wisconsin, Alaska has a program, Virginia, New Mexico, like all tons of states keep opening up new programs because they're seeing the benefits of this both from a purely economics standpoint and providing savings to their customers and their constituents, and also like to strengthen the grid and make it more reliable for the investor owned utilities. So for us, it's like dominating the Illinois market and getting the lion's share of, the new products that are approved, and then doing the same thing in another state and another state. But we're pretty much only like because of the way that we do. It's like essentially they're community batteries, so they're not
Hmm.
not servicing directly a hospital or servicing a
Right.
restaurant or providing backup power. It's more like we're servicing like the grid directly,
Yeah.
and we're helping the grid save costs, save money, which helps the investor in utilities, and it should be trickling down. And it should be like passing those savings on to the customers, residential customers like you and me.
Yeah. And then if the Chicagoland succeeds and everything goes well there, how about like 5 years out? Do you guys see like what is the biggest plan and maybe what is the biggest hurdle to get to some of those big plans at 5 years out from now?
Yeah, it's funny because it's like just doing what we're doing already. It's rinse repeat,
Hmm.
bigger scale. It's like being
Okay.
we're a 7-person team and we have a tremendous footprint for the size of our company. And I'm imagining that 5 years out, it's like maybe we have 20, 30 people and we're able to do this effectively across like 10 states and provide things and benefits to all those state residents. Like we're very committed to just a kind of like a triple bottom line. Like we want to make money, we want to help the environment, and we want to help our customers in an equitable way. It's like the more success that we can find, the more we are serving those communities and that we're bringing people along. Like right now, like energy inflation is such a real topic, and anyone who's listening to this probably can see that their utility bills are going up, and there's no way they're
Hmm.
going down. Um,
Yeah.
this is one way we can really tackle that problem is actually just provide you cheaper energy. And a lot of times that's not going to come from the utilities. Like they rely on developers like us to actually find the spots and develop them and build them for cheap in a way that they could never do.
Mm, mm, mm. It's interesting. In regards to the business, what keeps you up at night? What's the biggest threat? What's the thing you got to really worry about?
Federal policy.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to say that. Yeah, that's what I would be worried about.
Constantly keeps changing. It's hard to predict because a lot of the Trump administration's decisions don't seem like there's not a consistent through line that I can see
Yeah.
like what they are trying to accomplish. And so for us, it's like if we know it's going to be adversarial, that's one thing. But if we know it's going to be adversarial and chaotic, that's like another thing because now we
Right.
plan for chaos and we don't exactly know how to position our company in anticipation of that chaos. So
Yeah.
think we it does feel like the worst of that so far, knock on wood, is over for the clean energy sector. Like 2025, 2026, those have been very difficult and chaotic years for a lot of clean energy companies. And I think if you look at the news, you'll see a lot of clean energy companies struggling right now. And it's a tough time for them. But hopefully at this point, this is what the law is going forward. And we can all say, okay, for the next at least 3 years, or maybe more, maybe less, this is the lay of the land. So we can actually,
Yeah.
we can do business as long as we know that the rules are not shifting.
Yep. Have you felt this, and I was gonna say energy, but with no pun intended on that. But have you felt that sort of vibe around conversations with investors right now? Do you feel that investors being a little hesitant based on the exact same chaos that we're talking about, or are they looking at it more like, no, we just know we have to start doing something different, right? Like, what has been sort of the sentiment that you've had behind the scenes
Are you talking about like
with
institutional?
investors? Just investor conversations. Like, what have they been like? Is it everybody fearful, or has it been like positive? I guess is what, maybe has there been a vibe, or maybe there hasn't been at all, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of both. I think that a lot of,
Mm,
especially pre the One Big Beautiful bill, there were a lot of investors who were like, this is going to be catastrophic for the industry. And it kind of was. I do think that most of that damage has already been done. And you'll see companies lay off people, or go under at this point. In a way, that's sad. In a way, it's also a strengthening of the industry, because the weak companies will go away and the strong will stay. And in a way, like going forward, the ones that have survived are the strong ones who will continue to like build a fundamental base. But it's always good to, I mean, it sucks to see people lose their jobs. Like, I think there's also, at the same time as that, there's also a tremendous demand increase from data centers. So a lot of these solar companies are saying, maybe we don't even need the investment tax credit anymore. Maybe we just build solar really fast at scale, and for cheap, and get out the natural gas. So like provide to the hyperscalers. So there's also like tremendous, like the physics, like the demand of the real world is like is so high that people are kind of like, how can we even lose? Like, we just got to
sure.
build for the hyperscalers.
Right.
And then for us, we're kind of in the middle, where we're like, we're not struggling anymore. We
Hmm.
got out of the valley of death, and we're in the state of like, okay, like we have solid markets. We know that the federal policy is not going to change from this, and we just gotta build here. So it's like we're kind of, not much is changing in our business plan, because we've already weathered the storm. And what's interesting also is that the utility scale market, this might be getting in the weeds, like the utility scale ITC is gone. The residential ITC is gone. But in the community scale, in the DG side, which is where we are, between 1 and 5 megawatts, the ITC is still there. So we're kind of in a sweet spot of still being able to like build these projects for the next, until 2029.
Wow. Wow, that's fascinating. Well, where can people dive in if they want to learn more? Where should we send investors?
Yeah, you should check out our Climatize fundraising page, which is called Batteries for Chicagoland. And you'll see some stuff about us, our company. And you can also check us out at our website, which is enterpriseenergy.com. We're also on Instagram, and we're posting thought pieces about like what's happening in the world right now. Also, we hosted at the Minneapolis Climate Week, which was like the inaugural Minneapolis Climate Week this past year. And we'll also be hosting an SF Climate Week. So if you want to hear more, or you want to meet me, you can come to SF Climate Week, and I'll be there.
Very awesome. Well, Steve, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm glad we got in the weeds of it, because I do think it's a fascinating project. I think what you're working on is what we need. And I honestly hope that a certain someone doesn't continue to destroy good projects like this, or attack these industries, because it is just mind boggling to me. But but I appreciate you taking time out of your day. For all my investors out there, I'll have all the links in the show notes. Go check it out. Go click on it. Connect with Steve and ask some questions. I'm sure you guys will find it very, very fascinating as well. So Steve, thanks again for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.